All right, so in this video, we're going to work on special right triangles. You can see the formulas up there that you learned in geometry. 45, 45, 90-degree right triangles have two congruent sides. So if the two sides were labeled as x's, and x can be anything, but the two sides are the same, then the hypotenuse would be x times the square root of 2. And then moving over to a 30, 60, 90-degree triangle, the hypotenuse is double the length of the short leg. So keeping that in mind, the short leg of this triangle would be this bottom side because it's opposite the smallest angle. So if the short side we call it x, then that means the hypotenuse in a 30, 60, 90-degree triangle would be 2 times x. And the long leg is radical 3 times the short leg, so it could be written as radical 3 times x. And again, that works for any triangle that has the angles of 30 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. So we're going to use those patterns to answer some of these questions below. In all of these problems, we're assuming the hypotenuse of each right triangle is 1. And we're doing that because in the trigonometry unit, the unit circle always has a radius or a hypotenuse of 1. So this first example, they want us to find the lengths of the other two sides. Since this is a 45, 45, 90, that means the other two sides are the short legs, since they're opposite those two short sides, and they have to be the same. So we can use the formula right here, where the hypotenuse is 1, and it's going to be equal to radical 2 times x. And our goal is obviously to solve for x here. So we're going to divide both sides by radical 2. Radical 2's cancel there. So normally we would be done because we've isolated x and we've got 1 over radical 2 equals x. But you cannot have a radical on the bottom, so we need to rationalize the denominator by multiplying the denominator by itself. So we're going to end up with radical 2 over 2. And you're going to see a lot of repeating answers. So you're only going to get better the more you practice this. All right, now let's do a 30, 60, 90-degree triangle together. So that's what this next example is. It's a 30, 60, 90, where they give us the hypotenuse is equal to 1. So this time we're going to start with this formula here. Again, they tell us the hypotenuse is equal to 1, and we need to first come up with the short leg. So to do that, divide both sides by 2. Since there's no radicals in this answer, we know the short leg is immediately 1/2. So that goes opposite the smallest angle of 30 degrees. And then to get the long leg, we can use this second formula. The long leg is just equal to the square root of 3 times the short leg, which we now know as 1/2. If you want, you can put the radical 3 over 1, and then just multiply the tops of those fractions and multiply the bottoms. Radical 3 over 2 is okay, since the radical is at the top and not at the bottom. Pause the video and see if you can do the next two problems on your own. So this is how you should have started this one. The hypotenuse is equal to twice the short leg. So very similar to the last problem, the short leg should end up being 1/2. And then to get the long leg, all we have to do is take radical 3 and multiply it by the short leg. Really exactly like we just did. So in this next problem, they give us the hypotenuse. It's a 45, 45, 90. Last time I said x instead of the word leg, but it's the same thing. But you're going to divide both sides by radical 2. Again, in this case, you cannot have a radical at the bottom of the fraction. So you have to rationalize the denominator. So multiply bottom and top by itself. Remember, both of these sides are going to be radical 2 over 2. If you need a couple more practice problems, there's 2 right here. I'm going to put the answers up in just a second.